Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of the NoDQ review. I am your moderator for this evening, Gino, and this is review number 338. We got a good one for you tonight, folks. We have Big G here. Big G, how you doing?
I am doing good. Things are looking good this week with everything going on in my life. Got a new job at Coca-Cola. Got my brother moved in. So yeah, things are looking good. We got some good topics. So like I always say, let's get this ball rolling, baby.
And roll we shall. And we have Hamp Connell here, first-time reviewer. How are you, Hamp Connell?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. We're happy to have you on. Look forward to hearing your thoughts on these topics. And as always, we've got Virtue here. Virtue, how you doing?
Yo, what's up? Here we are. I don't have to moderate. I can just give my opinion.
And we look forward to hearing it. And as always, of course, Aaron is here. Aaron, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'm excited for tonight. We finally have Hamp on. Hamp Connell has been asking to be on for a while. He's a regular in the chat room, often critical of WWE. Virtue is a WWE defender. Tonight could be very interesting. We may have some fireworks. I'm going to try not to overhype this, but we might have one of our more memorable NoDQ reviews tonight. Hamp, anything you want to add before we get this ball rolling?
Yeah, just want to say I was supposed to be here 2 weeks ago, but in the field I'm in, and being a VIP, it's possible for at the last minute, can you take a ventilator patient to Miami? And yeah, but went and saw Karate Kid Legends today. I loved it, but I just want to say during the movie, there was a trailer for the Smashing Machine with The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And that movie looks really good. And if the movie is really good and he looks like he does a great acting job, he might be on his way to his first Oscar. And if he wins an Oscar, we probably will never see him wrestle again.
Well, that's interesting. I think that's on topic with what we were going to be discussing, right, Gino?
It is on topic, yes. And I'm looking forward to hearing what everybody else thinks as well. The Rock getting an Oscar nomination in and of itself would be incredible. I'd have to see the movie, and we'd have to hope that there's not 5 other people that gave the best performance of their lives too, but he's unrecognizable in that. But either way, we'll get to that in a moment. Thank you so much. We're happy to have you, Hamp. And like Big G says, we're going to get this ball rolling. So tonight we're going to be talking about things like R-Truth and Carlito leaving WWE. Has Gunther's aura been lost? But first, we are going to talk about WWE, AEW, wrestlers in general in Hollywood. We had a Happy Gilmore 2 trailer that showcased MJF. Liv was gone for the last couple of weeks filming a movie. Cena is very well established in Hollywood with Peacemaker Season 2 coming out this summer. The Rock Smashing Machine, as Hamp mentioned, is right around the corner. Dave Bautista is doing his thing in some of the biggest movies of all time over the last couple of years and moving forward. We've even seen Drew McIntyre, Becky Lynch, The Miz, obviously Hulk Hogan before them all. Seth was cut from Captain America 4. Mercedes Moné was on The Mandalorian when she was still Sasha Banks. So we've got a lot of things to choose from here. Wrestling and Hollywood, they don't always go hand in hand, but there is a lot of acting involved with wrestling. So it seems to be not the greatest gap in skill needed to be able to make that jump from wrestling to Hollywood. So I want to propose the question: what is your favorite movie or performance featuring a wrestler? And I'm going to throw it over to Big G. I know you're a big movie guy. So we're going to start with you. Hopefully you've done your research and you don't need to look it up now.
Thank you for taking my topic into effect. Figured I'd throw something out there. All right. So like you mentioned, I'm a big movie guy. There's so many good movies with actors. Batista, Guardians of the Galaxy, The Rock. He's been in so many movies. So has Cena, and like everybody you just mentioned. But my favorite movie is with Dave Bautista, and that was from 2023 from M. Night Shyamalan, Knock at the Cabin. I
Okay.
thought it was one of his better performances. That took him away from his the action and stuff like that. It was more of a, if you've seen M. Night Shyamalan movies, they're more of suspense thrillers, make you think, stuff like that. And he did a really good job at that. Um, the Dune movies, he was in, I think, part 2, if I remember correctly, and he did good in that as well. But my second favorite, if I had to pick one, was from 2007 with Stone Cold Steve Austin in The Condemned. That was a
Ooh.
badass movie, Austin doing his thing, just kicking ass and taking names and killing people. So those are my 2 favorite movies. So
Okay. Thank you so much, Big Baller G. And we look forward to seeing what the comment section has to say about your picks and all of ours moving forward. So I'm going to throw it over to the first time reviewer, Hamp. Hamp, what do you think? What's your favorite performance or movie from a wrestler in a production?
Oh, it's got to be Mr. Nanny. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So I don't really count if
you stole
they're-
my line. I was exactly going to pick Mr. Nanny as a joke, and you stole it from me, you son of a bitch. All right, go ahead.
But anyway, I was sorry about that. But I was gonna say, if they're already a full-time actor, I'm not really gonna count it. If you want me to count it, I would say The Rock in the movie Faster. I mean, that's his best performance, I think. He literally said 5 words. But I'm going to count, basically full-time wrestlers who just star in a movie. You got to include Roddy Piper. They live. You got to include Andre and the Princess Bride.
That's probably the best movie featuring a wrestler overall, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say it, Mr. Nanny is a guilty pleasure for me. I'm sorry. I mean, it really is a guilty pleasure. But the movie's bad, but it's, it's bad, so bad it's good. And if you want to include somebody like Cena, like I say, if you want to include the people who used to be wrestlers, I never saw anything with the Peacemaker, but Blockers was real funny. The cock blockers, that was funny.
Yeah.
And and another guilty pleasure for me is the Marine. I mean, the Marine was good, up until the car chase scene. From then it kind of went downhill, but I thought it was good.
Well done. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, Hamp. Again, happy to have you here. We're going to throw it over to Virtue, the always opinionated. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say for the answer to this question. I know you are no slouch when it comes to movie knowledge yourself, so take it away.
So obviously they live with Roddy Piper's top on the list. More modern time, the Peacemaker, John Cena, the series. I'm looking forward to more of those episodes. He was in the movie The Suicide Squad. That character is awesome. That was John Cena's true. I know he did the Marine, he did other stuff. That to me put Cena on the map is like maybe second tier Hollywood, like just below The Rock and some of those guys. But the one movie and performance, and it's not even really a great movie, it's just a fun movie. It's one of The Rock's early ones, The Rundown.
Yeah.
For some reason, I love that movie. Christopher Walken's the bad guy. What's his name? Sean William Scott.
William Scott,
yeah, dude. Just a great, and the whole end scene, the whole fighting stuff. That's just awesome. That to me, and that was to me Rock's coming out party of, hey, I can do this thing and entertain people. And he had some duds after that, but he stayed the course. And look at him now, biggest star in Hollywood. Might even be the biggest star in Hollywood history when you look at box office. Even despite all the duds. So that's what I would say. And I like Walking Tall too. I know that was a kind of a reboot of an older movie. That one, Johnny Knoxville was in that. I like that one as well.
Those are 2 that I grew up on, The Rundown and Walking Tall. And you guys, I'm glad you guys we all have a different spectrum of ideas on what we are enjoying, and that's the beauty of art and wrestling. That's the beauty of art and entertainment. So looking forward to it. And Aaron, I'm going to throw it over to you now. Obviously, your punchline got taken away from you with the nanny, but I'm sure you got a few more loaded in there. So, what do you think? Favorite movie or TV show or performance from a wrestler in Hollywood?
Well, there's so many bad wrestler movies. That's the thing. Most of them, in my opinion, are duds. I'm not going out of my way to watch a movie with a wrestler in it. But you guys pretty much took my answers, not just the joke one, but the legit ones. Roddy Piper, They Live would be my number one. I agree with Virtue on that. And also, I agree with The Rundown. I think The Rundown is my all-time favorite movie from The Rock. Now, granted, I've probably only seen like 4 or 5 of The Rock's movies. I have not seen most of his recent stuff. Anytime I see The Rock in a movie, I feel like he's basically the same character. I really don't see much difference, which is why I think that MMA movie might be interesting, although I'm not an MMA fan, but it seems like it's really something different from what he normally does. Beyond that, I like The Condemned. I think Big G mentioned The Condemned. That's one of the better of the WWE films. That was probably my favorite one. And then the comedies are very much hit and miss. So I wouldn't really go with any of the comedies. The Kane See No Evil was just a generic slasher movie, but it was fine. It was fine for what it was. And yeah, I would say They Live is easily the best one, but you have a legitimate top tier filmmaker and John Carpenter working on that. So that's going to be at a higher level than most of the films that we discuss. Anyways, that's all I got, Gino.
I want to throw out Be Cool as well, because The Rock really went out of his element playing a different type of character in that movie. And I thought of it when Aaron said The Rock, and he has been kind of a similar character in a lot of his movies, but he's done so many. There are some where he showed that he can be something else, and Be Cool is one of them. If you've never seen that movie, John Travolta's in it as well. Uma Thurman, go watch that movie and watch The Rock's performance.
Yeah, so I would agree with that too, 100%. He plays a very flamboyant character, and it was, especially at that time, it was something you weren't used to seeing from The Rock, and he really showed that he's not afraid to go there. Yes, Big G.
I was gonna say, so speaking of The Rundown, when I lived in Hawaii, I actually got to see some of the locations where they filmed at on the island that I lived on. So it was very cool to see that.
That's always something that's entertaining, to see some, like a place or a setting that you've seen in a movie that you like and be there. That's really awesome. Yes, Aaron.
Are we including TV shows as well?
Yeah.
I said the
you said Peacemaker.
Peacemaker,
Well, it was a wrestling show, but you also had wrestlers in it. The show Glow, about the promotion in the 80s. I liked Glow, and I was a little bit bummed out that they weren't able to finish out the show. They got canceled before they could do their last season. But I thought that was a pretty darn good show, and I'm thinking it doesn't get enough recognition.
Yeah, that was back when Netflix. I mean, they still have a reputation for this, but they'll kill shows after 3 seasons, or kill a show halfway through its first season airing. But that's kind of the poison, or the landscape of streaming culture, is you don't really know if people are going to watch it, so you don't commit to booking more seasons, and then sometimes you end it because you don't want to pay the people that 4th season price. Yes, Sam.
I just want to say I also enjoyed Triple H's performance in Blade Trinity. Did y'all see that?
Yes.
A long time ago, yes.
And
I have the whole trilogy.
Okay. And if we're including TV shows, I would say Stone Cold did a good job in the Nash Bridges show, if y'all remember that. And he was actually offered a permanent role, and he wanted to do it. And from what I heard, and Vince McMahon told him no.
Interesting. So. All right. Well, we appreciate that fun fact. So I've mentioned it in the chat before. I see somebody else mentioning it now. The Longest Yard had Stone Cold, Kevin Nash in it, with the remake of it anyway, with Adam Sandler. But for me, one of the funniest things that I've ever seen is in MacGruber. The wrestlers don't have a big role, but all of them together. You got Mark Henry, Kane, Chris Jericho, and a few other guys, and they're all getting ready to go. Help him take down the bad guy, and then Jerry rigs the car wrong, and it explodes and kills them all. Spoiler alert,
I remember that.
It's hilarious though, and it's based on a Saturday Night Live skit. But so I'm seeing a bunch of people. Yeah, it also had Goldberg and the Great Khali, as it's mentioned. So this was a very fun topic to discuss. I really like how lively the chat has been for this topic. Does anybody else have anything to add before we move
I got
on?
one honorable
I got
mention.
one.
Batista.
Yes.
Honorable mention,
Okay.
Batista, Glass Onion. If you've never seen Knives
Oh,
Out
so good.
and Glass
Yes.
Onion, Knives Out, there's no
Yes.
wrestlers in it. But if you've never seen those movies, watch Knives Out first, then watch Glass Onion. And
Yes.
they need to make another movie. Those movies
They
are
are.
awesome.
They are. They're making a third one.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like
with
Dead
with
Man
Ned-
Tell No Tales or something like that.
Yeah.
Glass
So I had
Onion's
an
a good
honorable
Beatles
mention
song.
as well. So
Beatles
the
song.
one Aaron will get a kick out of this, and I think Virtue will too. Ready to Rumble from 2000.
It was fun for the time. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
hate it. I will rule you.
I didn't know if I could include Ready to Rumble, but I mean, yeah, it's another guilty pleasure.
I think it takes a lot of flack for spawning that actor. I can't remember his name right now, but
David Arquette.
winning the title. Yeah,
David
like I think
Arquette,
that it holds the weight of that whole negativity when it's really not fair to the movie. But you kind of can't separate the two there. Aaron, did you have
That's
something you
another
wanted to add?
Just a couple more things. First of all, The Wrestler, that movie is really good too. And I guess you can
Yes.
count that since Ernest the Cat Miller makes a little appearance in that movie.
And so does somebody else that we're going to discuss later too. R-Truth.
Oh yeah, there you go. So yeah, The Wrestler was a good one. And now I forgot what I wanted to say. So I guess we're done here. Oh, Hamp, go ahead.
Real sorry. One more honorable mention. I don't know if y'all ever watched the show that was out a couple years ago, Heels.
Yes.
That was good.
CM Punk was on that. He did a good job on that. He was on it in a few episodes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I remember now what I wanted to say. Jingle All the Way with the Big Show making a little cameo.
Yeah.
Oh, and Santino in the sequel.
Yep.
Who cares about the
Yeah.
sequel?
Mhm. Yeah, and also the Big Show made a cameo as Captain Insano in The Water Boy. Right, we've got things recently. I wanted to mention the Iron Claw because that had wrestlers in it and was about wrestlers.
Yeah, that's a
Well,
very
this-
good movie.
Yeah, it's just it's a really hard watch. Right, it's not
Yeah.
one you're just looking forward to putting on again. Also, Fighting with My Family had wrestler in it and was about wrestlers as well. So those ones I wanted to mention as well. So with that down, it doesn't look like we have any super chats. So I will go ahead and take us right into what I expect to be could get pretty heated debate. I don't know. We'll see what happens. And that is this. This is about Gunther. Gunther, however you want to pronounce it. Gunther, the Ring General. It's obvious that he's cooled off since he's no longer a champion and we are used to seeing him as a champion. However, that kind of correlates to whether his aura has worn off, right? Tapping out to your own move done by somebody who's never submitted anyone before will do that to you. So that's not necessarily the juicy question. The question is, has he peaked already? Is Gunther's best behind him? So I'm going to go ahead and start off with Big G, and then I'm going to throw it to Aaron before we get Hamp and Virtue is what I would expect to kind of go hand in hand with that. So Big G, throw it over to you.
Yes. Let me look something up real quick.
We'll go to Aaron. Big G ain't ready.
Yeah, so then I'll throw it over to Aaron.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh no, I'm good. I'm good. I just wanted to verify some information. So so before I answer your question, on his X, Gunther has removed everything related from WWE as well. So I don't know if that's a sign that his contract is coming up in the
He's
near
working
future as well.
everybody. He's working
Or
everybody.
he could be working everybody.
He's
You're
not
right.
going to win the title Monday. He wants to make. Or he's leaving.
Yeah,
That's what he
you're right.
wants
All
to
right.
think.
So with Gunther, so I started watching him when he first debuted in NXT in 2018 when he was still Walter. And he was very dominant in NXT UK. He was the NXT UK champ for quite some time. I can't remember exact days or anything like that. And then he went on to NXT and then main roster, he won the IC title and held that for 666 days, won the world heavyweight title. I don't think he's, past his peak, to be honest, although, he may have tapped out to Jey Uso to his own move, But like, let's be honest, everybody does chokeholds, you know, and submission. So I think with that storyline, Jey Uso wanted to prove to everybody, and especially to Gunther, that he's just not some bland wrestler who can only do his moves. You know, he busted out, you know, Gunther's power. He did a power bomb to Gunther. I've never seen. I can't remember the last time somebody had power bombed Gunther, to be honest, either. But anyways, I don't think he's past his peak or lost his aura. He's just, you know, not all wrestlers have to be in the world title scene. You know, there's so many active wrestlers on the roster. You know, Jay's getting his time to shine now. You know, so there's that, and I'm sure on Monday their match, this coming Monday, will be great between the two of them. Could we see Gunther regain the title on Monday? Possibly. You know, Jay could have a short reign, and Gunther could go back and win the title and have like hopefully a better reign. You know, do what he did basically before he lost the title with Jay, be more aggressive and whatnot. But other than that, I have no worries in Gunther. I think Gunther is, you know, right where he needs to be right now.
All right, thank you, Big G. I'm just concerned because if Gunther does lose this title shot on Monday to somebody who wrestled two pretty high, you know, what is to be expected, two physically intense matches in the week leading up to it, it really just not setting up well for a good Gunther loss there, where he comes out looking anything other than weaker than he already is. Thank you so much, Big G. So I'm going to throw it over to Aaron, if you don't mind, before we let Hamp and Virtue kind of potentially be on the opposite sides of those things.
If you are looking at Gunther and thinking, well, he's never going to be a world champion again, then yeah, maybe he is past his prime. But I feel like there's still a lot left to do with him, and you cannot have him undefeated forever. At some point, he's got to be beaten. You got to do more with the character. And there was a comment in the chat room, maybe there's a babyface turn for him at some point. Just because he loses a couple of matches doesn't mean that he's being booked badly and that he's on the downward spiral. On Raw, I could see Goldberg interfering, some kind of shenanigans, and Gunther will probably beat Goldberg. And we might get a face turn from Gunther at some point. Maybe he switches to SmackDown in the draft. You change things up a little bit. I don't think that he is far down from where he was. Obviously, he's not the world champion anymore. But I don't necessarily think that he's past his peak. And also, people are talking about the social media activity, but I don't see him going anywhere. He'll be in WWE for years to come. And he can talk. He's a really good talker in addition to being one of the best in the ring. So he's got some longevity in WWE. He doesn't always have to win. You know, he has to look at least a little beatable. Like if he's winning constantly, eventually it gets old and tiresome. You gotta have him be beat every now and then. Remember Brock Lesnar? Brock Lesnar came back in 2012 and he lost to John Cena. And people are like, oh no, Brock Lesnar's done for. He's on the downward spiral. Then he lost to Triple H. And people are like, oh no, Brock Lesnar's on the downward spiral. Then he ends the Undertaker's streak. And then he goes on to have one of the best runs as a big man in the history of the company. And Brock Lesnar did lose. He put over Seth Rollins. He put over a lot of people in WWE. He put over Roman Reigns. And he was still Brock Lesnar. Drew McIntyre. He was Brock Lesnar. He could take the losses every now and then. Same thing applies to Gunther. He doesn't have to win every single match. He can tap out. He can be beaten, even though he is dominant, even though he's usually the favorite against anybody he's up against. We now know somebody can beat him. He is beatable. So I don't think he is necessarily on the downward spiral. Will he have a run with the world title for a year? That I don't know, but I expect him to be like a Brock Lesnar for years to come. So I would say, no, he's not past his peak.
All right. Thank you so much, Aaron. I would love nothing more than for you to be correct and we have a Brock Lesnar type run moving forward with Gunther, with or without the title, because Lesnar never necessarily needed the title right? He was just this big, intimidating force. When his music hit, somebody was going to get beat the heck up, and it was going to be entertaining. And that's really all I need from Gunther, is to just feel that kind of immense fear that you would get when you hear Lesnar's about to come down the ring. Thank you so much, Aaron. I'm going to throw it over to Hamp now. Hamp, do you think Gunther's past his prime? Is he peaked? Should WWE just go ahead and release Gunther? Where's your head at with this?
I think they should have released him last month. The guy's
with
stale.
All the other cuts?
Yes, the guy is stale and boring, and he just takes up space on my television. I mean,
okay.
Explain yourself.
He was booked like crap before WrestleMania. He's going 50-50 with Tozawa and freaking Otis. And then he taps out to Jay in like 2 seconds to his own move. I mean, what the hell are we doing here? But this goes along with Triple H's bad creative. I mean, let's just face it.
Triple H. Oh.
Yes, exactly. That's what
right.
it does.
So do you want to add anything to that before we kick it over to Virtue, who's spring-loaded and ready to
all seriousness, you can have a boring style of wrestling, but you've got to have personality and charisma to go along with it, like Randy Orton. He wrestles boring matches, but he's got charisma and personality. Okay, and the foreign heel thing can only go so long. I mean, yeah, you can turn him babyface, but I mean, what's he gonna? I mean, he's just gonna cut the same dadgum promos. I mean, there's no heels or babyfaces anymore. That's one problem.
Now, I just want to touch on this before throwing it over to Virtue. I think the only real way that I would like to see him babyface is if he turns face against Cena and beats Cena to save wrestling, because, Gunther's a wrestling purist, right? I could see him potentially wanting to stop wrestling from being ruined. So thank you very much, Hamp. The chat's waiting to hear what Virtue has to say. I know we're all waiting to hear what Virtue has to say. Virtue, the floor is yours.
So,
we won't interrupt, and then we'll go back and we'll get into it.
We got an interesting week coming up here, because it's going to tell a lot how they booked the match on Monday night with Gunther and Jay. He's playing the whole internet with whatever, with his tweets, deleting all the wrestling-related ones. Maybe he's out the door. He wants, First of all, let's bring up Roman Reigns from 2015, when I was like, the only one that defended this guy. He's not the guy. He doesn't have it. He's stale, suffer and succotash. And now when we talk about Roman Reigns, we talk about the greatest run, one of the greatest runs of all time in wrestling. So you can't say Gunther is stale just because of how he's been booked since he's been on the main roster. They book him in long title reigns anytime he's had the title. The problem is the way they have him lose. He lost to Sami Zayn. Oh, the underdog. He lost to Jey Uso. And the way they made him lose to Jey Uso. And then he had to go against Cody and lose to Cody. And that match should have never happened. What feuds has he really had? Did he have a feud with Roman? Has he had a feud with John Cena? Has he had a feud with Brock Lesnar? A feud with Cody Rhodes other than one match? No. He hasn't had any major big-time feud. He's had to get thrown in there with other middling mid-card acts that want to be main events. That's not fair to him. He comes out, he can articulate, he can talk. Yes, when he was coming up, right, through NXT UK, through NXT, it was big-time foreign heel thing. That's kind of faded away when they broke up Imperium. He goes to the locker rooms now, and he's getting in Jay's head, setting things up like, you're doing all this stuff that champions shouldn't do, so I'm going to get you when it's time. Like, that is immaculate to me. Now, it's pressure's on, not him, Triple H, because how is this going to be booked? Like, I could see if Triple H went to Gunther, you're going to do the job again. And then he's like, I'm done. I'm just going to serve out my contract and done. He deleted social media. That's him being fed up with Triple H, who is losing a star. Think about it. Where's Roman Reigns been? With Vince, he was figured in quite often. With Roman, he's not even in the main event. So pressure's on Triple H with this guy, but there's nothing that screams stale with Gunther. What did they do after he other than the booking, which everybody in the chat has agreed with that? It's been very questionable. Yet Gunther has still managed to get where he has. He mopped the floor he didn't mop the floor, but he basically beat Pat McAfee pretty good, let him get his licks in. But that was just kind of like a rebound. And now it's this big match with Jay. And this was a perfect topic to have tonight. So this match means more to some of us, and we can discuss this again next Tuesday, depending on what happened. But to me, Gunther should be figured in long term unless there's really something personal that's going on that we don't see, that the dirt sheets haven't reported. You know, if Gunther loses next week and leaves the company, that's clearly what happened. But look, Drew McIntyre once left WWE. Look where it happened when he came back. Cody Rhodes once left WWE. Look what happened. So if Gunther leaves, becomes Walter for a year or two, and comes back, it's not the end of the world either. So that this guy has nothing but upside despite everything he's already accomplished. And like I said, Roman Reigns for the first 5 years sucked to everybody except me. And then what happened? Greatness. Sometimes you just have to wait, and the booking will eventually get it right. Gunther, to me, screams Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer. So there you go. And I like Logan Paul, too. I like Logan Paul, too. Those are two of my up-and-comer guys that I really like if I have to move on from Roman one day. Just so you know.
And I also agree with that. Hopefully we do get Logan for a longer period of time than I'm expecting him to be.
Any rebuttal back to Hamp after that, though? I mean...
Yeah, I mean, it feels like you guys are kind of in the same boat on some things and a little different on some things. Hamp, do you have anything that you'd like to say back to any of that at all? It's not like it was targeted at you, but.
So 2 things. One, how do you get in Jay's head any more than bloodying his brother in front of him and then 2 weeks later tapping out?
But see, Jay and his brother had disconnect during the bloodline stuff. So, like, they've had sibling rivalry. They've wrestled at WrestleMania. So, like, come on. Like, you know, WWE wanted you to think that got in Jay's head. But, like, let's be honest. You know, Jay can deal with it. So to me, look, the whole Pat McAfee stuff, when he came out there, attacked the announcers, he cut some passionate Gunther cut some passionate promos. Like, I remember Roman one time. It might have been with Brock. Remember, this is my announce table. This is my... There's a couple times, if you just let them cook, you would be surprised. And then that stale moniker or that, you know, flat baby face moniker like Roman had for a while, that will leave. You won't even think about that anymore. And I see it. Like, don't ask how I had the vision of Reigns becoming an all-time great with the ball. I didn't know exactly how it was going to happen. I just knew he was capable of it. I feel Gunther has that opportunity, and he's already kind of been pushed really big. It's going to be harder for Gunther than Roman because Roman had nothing to lose to join Heyman to turn heel, but Gunther's already kind of done it all, but as a heel. So it's going to be harder for him to prove people like Camp wrong, but I'm going to be sitting back and enjoying it. And like I said, it's going to be key next Monday night because is something going on that we don't know, and maybe Gunther isn't happy. But I think that we're going to have a lot to talk about next week after that match. So we'll see. Stay tuned.
Got a big week of wrestling coming up. Big D, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, so I was going to say, so I feel with Gunther trying to get in Jay's head is more about, you know, Gunther saying, you know, you don't deserve to be champion, you know, you can't cut it as a champion, you know, something along that line, you know. So it's different from, it's continuing the storyline, but it's different from the stuff before WrestleMania because now Jay's champion and Gunther's trying to play mind games with him and trying to pretty much just mess around with his head and saying you can't cut it as a champion. You know, he mentioned, you know, when was the last? I mean, yeah, it's been a while because the Imperium is pretty no longer together. But Gunther, I believe, for the most part, in his career, has won all his matches clean. You know, Roman always had the bloodline helping him out for the most part. You know, Gunther can talk.
Won a lot. Roman won a lot clean when he was a babyface, though.
Yes, he did. Correct. And I think Gunther does need a babyface turn. You know.
Gunther just hasn't had any great opponent, like long-term opponents.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Like,
you know,
nothing
you
against back... Jay or Sami Zayn. It's just they're not Roman, Cena, Brock.
No, you're absolutely right.
Or Rollins, even Rollins.
And I think that I think that's kind of hurt him too. But I've always been a big Gunther guy since his NXT UK days. You know, go look at a picture of Walter from when he first debuted to now. That man has put in the time and dedication. You know, so I don't see him as a bland, boring wrestler. He's a technical style wrestler who his saying is the mat is sacred. He believes in wrestling. He does everything by the book. You know, he takes his time. He manipulates people. He's slow and methodical. That's his style of wrestling. And if you don't like that style of wrestling, then there's other wrestlers you can watch, and you don't have to watch Gunther. You know?
Remember the outrage when his name was changed from Walter to Gunther? Now,
exactly.
but other than when we mention Walter, people don't talk about that anymore. He's Gunther.
No. And
he
that's
made
the one
people know that he is Gunther.
And see, that's the one thing I hate about the internet wrestling community. They complain and complain about every little thing, and then as soon as when we get to the next topic, because I know we're going to be talking about that too here soon, but like as soon as something else happens, people forget about the previous thing. So why, Aaron, forgive me, but why bitch and complain about it for a week and then forget about it? If it's so important to you, you know, do it every single week. Don't just say, oh, well, I'm going to talk about him for a few days and then we're going to go on to something else that happened. So,
but that's totally fine, though. If Hamp doesn't like Gunther and he wants him gone,
exactly, and that's
fine.
No
now,
problem.
see, he's wearing a YTC shirt, which OTC, right? Hamp, what was your thought? Like when Roman came out of the Shield and they were pushing him as Vince McMahon's next John Cena and suffering succotash and all of that. What was your stance back then on Roman? Just curious.
Okay, so mine was just like yours, but with a twist. You know, I basically said, I basically said not that persona he was using. I was basically saying back then that if they were to turn him heel and do something like what they did, which was one of the best things they ever did, then he would get over. And that is exactly what happened. But to compare Gunther to Roman, you've got to admit, Roman had the background. He had the family. So it was obvious to make this team of bloodline family members. You know, what does Gunther have? You said that, you know, he comes out and he cuts these passionate promos every week, and that's true. But you can't do that every single week and just build up people. And that's what one of my big problems is with this whole company, is that every single week, everything is built up by a promo. You know, and Virtue, you're a Vince Russo guy. I mean, why not do something different every week? Like, you know, like I'm not saying bring back Vince Russo, or anything, but do something different. You got to continue. What you're saying, you got to continue stories. You know, not.
But what you are saying, and I said this on the review, leading into WrestleMania, I felt like they didn't give Gunther and Jay a lot of time, especially on these 3-hour Raws, and they would just come out and do something and be gone there. And the whole time I'm like, you got to feature Gunther, you got to feature Jay, build this up, make this seem more. I wanted Gunther on the TV at the first, second, and the third hour. And you know what you're just saying, and it's not just come out and do a promo and leave. That's what's wrong. I think you're giving, like, you don't like Gunther because the time he's given, that who they build him up as this dominant guy, and then he loses to these underdogs. It's the booking that's making you not like Gunther. That's just what I see. And like I said, next Monday is going to be interesting because if they book him to lose, especially clean, then there's problems. Not necessarily with Gunther, but you know, you rub somebody wrong backstage the wrong way. That's what happens, right? They bury you, but we will see.
We will see.
I'm sorry.
We can move on.
I was just
go ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't know why he's removed all the WWE stuff. Him and them. We'll get to that later, but. I agree with you. You know, that's something like that. That was your biggest match on Raw because John Cena and Cody were on SmackDown. Am I right? So that was your biggest match on Raw. Why is that not taking up the whole show?
They took because the triple threat, Roman.
The triple threat, yeah.
Well, that's true.
They got that. That was the main event. That overshadowed it, and that they didn't even think twice about putting Jay and Gunther out there more. Because, if you build that up even more, that tap out could have meant even more at the end. And then you got like Gunther, instead of being down on himself, having to come back and, beats up the announcer, beats up McAfee. But again, I felt like WWE has let them down. It's just like, it's almost like, oh, Gunther, you're the champ and you're going to have it for so many days and then you're just going to lose it unceremoniously to Jey Uso. And we'll give you one segment every show. You brought up Vince Russo. He always made sure any major title, especially the main event. And again, they didn't get the main event spot. So they only got one segment leading into WrestleMania. But if they would have built it up more, who knows what we would be saying right now. But it's booking. I mean, everybody loved Triple H's booking, but there's been a lot of criticisms lately with WWE. And I see it too, right? Everybody calls me the big defender. Well, I mean, there's some things going on, and we're going to be talking about. And it's some of that's out of certain people's control, what we're going to be talking about with the releases. But.
Yep. And that's a great segue. But Aaron, let's first get to that super chat real quick because it's on topic, and then we'll move on.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about Gunther's character and how he's booked and everything. And Caleb Jacobs sent in a $5.03 super chat. Says, Undertaker said it on his podcast. Gunther is old school. That he is. He's like Andre the Giant or Yokozuna or Brock Lesnar. And the whole point of these guys is to build them up as the ultimate antagonist, but then the protagonist is going to get the last laugh on them. And as far as WrestleMania goes, I defend the tap out because people did not see it coming. They were shocked when it happened, and it put Jey Uso over as a guy that beat Gunther, not just pinning him, but tapping him out. And what happens when the fans are like, oh my God, Jey Uso did it. He tapped out Gunther. You know what they do? They buy his merchandise, and WWE makes more money. So you say, is Triple H a bad booker? Well, people are buying merchandise like crazy. They're filling the arenas. I say he's doing a great job as a booker.
And Gunther did it. Like the real guy did it. He could have pushed back politically. I'm not losing that way. While wrestlers back in the day, if they didn't like a finish, they would push back to Vince. Gunther did it. He put Jey over. Props to that.
Right. You put over your guy who is selling tickets and selling merchandise. That's how you book wrestling.
But let me ask y'all what y'all think about this finish. Why not let just him get him in the choke, get Gunther in the choke, and Gunther just pass out. He doesn't taps out.
That's not as
good guy. Good guys pass out.
Yeah, good guys pass
out.
And
that's the thing. That's why Monday's title match.
Different.
But Monday's title match is full circle, and he dropped this. He's like, I tapped out, and I already was planning on getting my revenge. So if he wins the title back Monday, because they put Jey worrying about all these other things, Money in the Bank and all that, and then they can literally drop the title off Jey in 2 months because they have reasons. That could all have been their plan. And then there's Gunther, 2-time champion already. But again, we'll see. It's Raw. You got fans like, it's not time for Jey to lose, and then they'll get mad. It wouldn't that be funny if Gunther wins and then fans are mad because Jey didn't have a long enough run after they felt Jey shouldn't have been the one to win it.
Typical.
Fans talking out of both sides of their mouth, and that leads us to the next topic. Yeah.
Last thing. Really, in wrestling, it's all just a reworking of Rocky. It's the dominant bad guy, and then the underdog good guy has to rise up and beat him. And yeah, it can get stale sometimes, but again, that's the general storyline that they tell generation to generation, whether it was Hulk Hogan beating Andre the Giant, or Bret Hart beating Yokozuna, or Seth Rollins slaying the Beast Brock Lesnar, or now Jey Uso slaying the monster Gunther. That's the story that they tell. It works. It sells tickets. It sells merchandise, and that's what they do.
And they did it the same thing last year with Gunther. They did it the same thing this year with Gunther, and they're going to do the same thing next year
because it sells tickets, and we're not their target audience. Their target audience.
They didn't sell out the arena, Aaron.
WWE is a kids show. Remember that they're targeting kids. We're
40-year-old
men watching a show that's geared towards 15-year-old kids.
They did not sell out that arena. That's why they didn't want to be in New Orleans. They couldn't sell out an 83,000 seat arena, or you couldn't sell out a 65,000 seat arena. How were they going to sell out 83,000? I mean, come on.
Well, they packed the Allegiant Stadium, and those ticket prices were no joke. Look at the gate number.
They lied about the daggum attendance.
They can lie about the attendance. The stockholders don't care about that. They care about what the actual numbers are.
Look, I mean, WWE is making a lot of money because
they
TKO is in debt prior to WWE, and they're utilizing WWE to try to eliminate that debt. That's big when companies attempt that. I'm just saying it shows the power of WWE.
And that's why we get releases to help the books and everything. And that's a great segue into our next topic here. The internet wrestling community was absolutely triggered this past week, yet again, by WWE releases, most notably R-Truth, but to a lesser degree, Carlito. They've both mentioned, or it's been mentioned, that they're not getting their contracts renewed, or however it's put. They're finished with WWE or finishing with WWE. Uninformed people like to blame Triple H as if it's his job to maintain employment and not just head up creative. I think they're probably both going to get Legends deals, especially R-Truth. I know that you have to get rid of your current deal to get a Legends deal, but nobody seems to be mentioning that a lot. So it's really just they're doing them dirty, and the IWC feels that there's more left in their careers as full timers. And we're certainly all entitled to our opinion, so this is no shots fired to anybody. Like I said before about the releases in the past, a few weeks ago, I bet that these people that are complaining don't own any R-Truth or Carlito merchandise. So sometimes you see this type of stuff, but they're not supporting the people while they're there. That Ron Cena shirt was top level merchandise to support somebody. And they started selling it a week ago, and they've got a plenty left in stock. Nobody's really buying that stuff. R-Truth is 53 years old and coming off a career highlight match or feud with Cena, however you want to put it. Carlito's 46 and was basically being paid every single week to show up and play PlayStation 5. So I don't know why everybody's complaining about him. So you take the occasional spear or super spear that he received, that fair enough. He was also getting super speared pretty occasionally. Hornswoggle said recently, not in relation to these releases, but into his own, that no one in any industry deserves a job. You're lucky to have it, and we're all replaceable. However, the fans they're upset and they're chanting, "We want truth" during these shows. And so I want to ask you guys, are you upset? Do you understand? Are you a little of both? Where do we feel on what's going on with this? Hamp, I'm going to start with you.
Not surprised about Carlito. How long was he there? 2-3 years? He probably signed a 2-year contract. I mean, he was just in the background of the Judgment Day. I'm just hoping Finn Balor is next and they can finally break up the Judgment Day and the Judgment Day won't be on my TV anymore. R-Truth, I'm with him. I'm surprised that they let him go now. I mean, I thought he should have. I mean, I'm going to get heat for saying this. I thought if they were going to let him go, it should have been years ago. I mean, I just don't feel anything for the guy. He hasn't entertained me. Last time he was entertaining was when he was a heel teaming up with The Miz, and they went up against Rock and Cena, and they were basically looked like jobbers, and they were blamed for a low buy rate and all that, so they just basically buried him. I mean, I haven't cared about him since then. But I think we will see more. TKO basically is obviously cutting corners. I think we will see probably somebody that's really shocking, like, and I wouldn't be surprised, like, and when I say really shocking, what I mean is like LA Knight, because that guy probably makes more money than R-Truth, and from what I read before, Triple H is not too fond of him. I mean, because he's very outspoken about if feels he's being booked bad. So that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm a little surprised about R-Truth, but I mean, I just wish they would do something with this. I mean, like I said, be creative. I mean, have Cena come out and say that, yeah, I was responsible for this. I'm ruining wrestling, and if you don't like it, whatever. I mean, do something with this, but they won't do it. I mean, they'll just have Cena come out and they'll have him cut the same promo. They'll have a face-to-face promo with Cody, something we've seen 7 or 8 times by now, and it'll end at a pull-apart brawl, and that'll be the end of a SmackDown, and SmackDown will get another 1.2 rating, and USA will be like, yeah, let's cut it, keep it at 3 hours because we love the ratings, even though they don't. So.
Well, thank you very much, Hamp. You are certainly very opinionated, and we love that. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your thoughts with us. Big G, I'm going to throw it over to you now. Do you understand? Also, I didn't mention Valhalla. Somebody had mentioned that.
Yeah.
You know, she also got released as well, but she wasn't anywhere. She wasn't with the group. She wasn't on TV for a while. So, like,
Yeah.
I mean, she should have seen that coming. The
Yeah.
other two were on TV literally Friday
Yeah.
or Monday.
Well,
So, what do you
with
think?
Valhalla, I'm not surprised. You know, she just became a mother again with their second child. So, you know, she wants to focus on being a mother. So they're not gonna renew her contract. You know, they really didn't do anything with her anyways, except come out with Eric and Ivor when they were still the Viking Raiders. Carlito, not a shocker. You know, like you mentioned, he basically got paid to pay PS5. I'm just kind of sad they didn't do anything more with him and Raquel. You know, that would have been cool to see, you know, have him go on a date or something like that, and Raquel like standing him up or something like that. That would have been funny. Our Truth shocked me a little bit, but the guy has been there since 2008, you know, so he's had a 17-year career in WWE. You know, you know, Shawn Michaels had a long career, then he left and he came back for another couple, you know, for about a decade and then retired, you know. So I don't know why people are complaining about our Truth, you know, not getting his contract renewed. I think I mentioned this to you, Gino, in the chat yesterday. You know, any professional sport, you know, people don't get their contracts renewed. You go to, you know, television shows, you know, television shows get cut. You know, actors get cut from television shows and whatnot because of their contract and stuff. So this is nothing new. I am gonna miss our Truth. I thought I like any kind of funny, even stupid funny. So anytime that True showed up, especially with the 24/7 title, and I was having a bad day or something like that, he would you know, he would make me laugh. So, you know, it sucks. I'm gonna, you know, he had his whole comedy thing. Um, his final feud with Cena was pretty good. You know, I feel like they should have ended it with Cena and not having him lose to, I'm gonna call him Jeff Cobb. On Friday, you know, they at Saturday Night main event, after the match, Cena should have had like pretty much like beaten him to a bloody pulp, so that way they could write him off TV. That way they, you know, when Truth said, you know, they wasn't renewing his contract, that could have been end of that and not had to do what they did on Friday. So yeah, it sucks, but you know, everybody gets released from the contract, so I'm sure whoever gets released next, you know, the IWC will complain about that and be disrespectful during, you know, matches, especially women's matches, chanting "We want truth," because these jerks who live in their parents' basement, you know, don't have anything else better to do except complain. So I don't know. I'm just sick and tired of people. I mean, I complain about stuff too here and there, but like, let's be for real. I don't know. I'm just all right. I'm all right. So go next. So yeah,
Yeah.
have somebody else go before I just like
I'll
go off
take
on
it.
a
I'll
tangent.
take it back from you,
dizzy,
Big G.
You're spinning around there, getting yourself dizzy.
You know, to that point about how they're disrespecting the women's matches. Like, I never thought that you would, like, if you are a basement dweller like that, like, wouldn't you want to watch Stephanie Vaquer and Liv Morgan in a wrestling match, and you'd want to maybe not try to
Right?
take away from that glory that you've got going on in front of you? But anyway, I digress. Valhalla did post that she didn't want that she didn't get to end like her dream career the way she wanted. So I'm not sure necessarily she's choosing to be a mom over wrestling, but I mean, like, you got to know that the writing's on the wall. Like, you know, you hate to see somebody lose their job, but for the most of anybody, all of us in the real world, like, you can usually see it coming unless the company goes under. So
Yeah.
I want to throw it over now to Virtue. looking forward to hear what you have to say about all this, the releases. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Do you think there's a future in WWE for any of them coming back? What do you think?
It's business, right? So it's dollars and cents. So but I wonder how much R-Truth made, what his contract looked like. Because I mean, Strowman, we know he's gotten released. He made a lot of money because Tozawa is still on the roster, but R-Truth isn't. And look, I'm just saying, who's meant more to WWE between those two? And I'm sure you can go through the roster and find other ones. If it's above Triple H, right, and he just has to be the one that lets him go, but he's really directed on who goes because of what they make. It's not very good timing for Triple H because he gets criticized by certain fans of like, you don't book black wrestlers well. You look at what MVP said recently, and yet here, you know, he is the one that released R-Truth, who's popular, who just had a program with John Cena. You know, even though we knew what the end result was going to be, you still put him up against Cena. So it's just very unfortunate timing. I'm sure the WWE machine is going to just keep on moving on. And, you know, there's people out there, oh, it could be a working angle. No, I think when you start looking at Gunther stuff and maybe even Miz to a point, you know, because Miz has been working with Karrion Kross too, that maybe that could be a work. But I think the whole R-Truth really was released. One of these days, I'd love to see something like that be a work, just because in the dirt sheets, whoa, we reported and then they were fooled. That's where that would be awesome to me. I would love to see John Cena come out on SmackDown and say he was the reason why R-Truth was let go, and I'm ruining wrestling for you. Do it. Like, that's to me next level stuff, but it's still dollars and cents in business. I just question why R-Truth, why not Tozawa, or I'm sure some other people. But maybe R-Truth made $750K. Tozawa makes $250K. That's a big difference. Who knows? But it's dollars and cents.
Thank you, Virtue. And Aaron, what are your thoughts about all this, right? Does it make sense to you? Does it not make sense to you? Is it strictly just business? Is there something down the line? Are they doing this to make room for a Legends contract? Like, are they just trying to make the books look better temporarily for TKO? What's going on here, Aaron?
Well, I think the gist of it is that R-Truth's contract was coming up and they don't want to pay him what they were paying him. He's a 53-year-old man, and they're focusing on younger talent. I think that's the bottom line here. It just didn't seem like the best execution of this. And like Virtue said, the timing certainly is strange, considering that R-Truth was just at Saturday night's main event, and he was a big part of the storyline with John Cena. They could have gone about this several different ways. Like, they could have had John Cena destroy him, and they could have just transferred R-Truth to a Legends deal, which I think is what is going to end up happening at some point. Now, we don't know all the details behind the scenes. We don't know if WWE said, okay, we'll sign you to a new deal, but it's going to be a Legends deal, and it's going to be significantly less, and he turned it down. We don't know all the details about that, what's going on behind the scenes. I think people are upset because of the fact that he's been around for so many years, and people were figuring that he was about as close to being a lifetime worker as you could possibly have. Like, people thought that he would get some kind of a Legends deal, or he'd work behind the scenes. He would always have a job. He'd be a lifer. But the fact of the matter is, nobody is really a lifer in WWE. Almost everybody is expendable at this point. So I'm surprised because of the timing of it. Like, if they had cut him 3 months ago, I don't think I would have been as surprised. But because he was just in this storyline, and they didn't do like a big angle where they could have had John Cena destroy him, put him in the ambulance. They did nothing like that, which I figured if he was going to be written out of the storylines, they would have done something like that. That surprised me. But the one other thing about R-Truth is that his real asset to WWE, in my opinion, was the fact that, in my opinion, he was legitimately funny. He was one of the few guys that could actually make me legitimately laugh. Like, most of WWE's comedy falls flat for me. It's more times unfunny than funny as far as I'm concerned. But I felt like he was legitimate comic relief, and I think the shows need that. Cutting Carlito too. I mean, I'm not surprised about Carlito, only the fact that he was in the middle of this Judgment Day storyline. So again, like it feels weird that they would just get rid of him all of a sudden like that and not wrap up those storylines. But Carlito was funny, you know, the stuff with him and Raquel, as mentioned earlier. He was a little bit of comic relief, and that's what the shows need, in my opinion. You need some comedy and some humor in the show. So you get rid of two of the guys that brought actual comic relief. Virtue?
Yeah.
Is there a chance that TKO side of things doesn't view comedy in combat sports and is pushed to eliminate some of that on the WWE side? Just saying.
I mean, you might be right. They're looking at it, you know, kind of more like a combat sports, and that's their approach. But I'm straight out saying I'm not a fan of that. I want some comedy in wrestling. Doesn't have to be a lot.
Say goodbye to Otis and Tozawa pretty soon then.
Well, yeah.
Like I enjoy a little bit of humor. Now, I didn't like a lot of Vince McMahon's humor. I thought that a lot of it was bad, but I do want some humor in wrestling, and I think it's important to have some comic relief. I think R-Truth was an asset to the company. So I'm a little surprised because of that. However, I do think he'll be brought back. I could see him eventually getting that Legends deal. I mean, he's going to be doing well. People are going to be booking him constantly. He's going to have no trouble finding work.
And he's not going to have to even wrestle.
Yeah, he really doesn't. He will be in the WWE Hall of Fame, 100%.
Yeah.
He'll get the Legends deal. He'll probably be on TV again at some point every now and then. But yeah, we don't know how much he was making. He was around for a long time, so I would think that he was probably making way more than any of the lower card guys in WWE, you know. He was probably getting closer to what some of the upper card guys were getting, even though they weren't pushing him like an upper card guy. But I think that he had an important role on the show. He brought humor to the brand, and you know, that sucks. I hope they can bring in some other guys that can fill that void. And Hamp, you said so you weren't a fan of any of the 24/7 stuff?
No.
Not even the Brock Lesnar thing where he broke Lesnar? No. Wow.
I was a fan. I was a fan of it when it was the hardcore title and Crash Holly was doing it. I mean, I thought the 24/7 title was just, I mean, a waste of time. It went on too long, and that's actually one good thing Triple H did whenever Vince left, was he got rid of that title.
Well, I agree. I mean, it definitely overstayed its welcome, but I mean, he had a lot of, in my opinion, funny moments with Brock Lesnar and the Judgment Day. So you didn't like any of the Judgment Day stuff?
No, I wish Judgment Day would disappear from my television.
Wow. Well, there you
go.
After
Edge left, I mean, it's who cares.
So you probably will like the new direction of WWE if Virtue's right and they're focusing more on presenting it like a combat sports and they're trying to get rid of the humor and stuff. That you probably prefer that then.
Absolutely not. I mean, because they're just, I mean, and they could be.
But what do you want? Do you want humor? Or do you want it to be more serious?
I'm not watching it all.
He wants the Sami Zayn interaction with Bloodline type humor. Right?
What is considered good humor on a WWE show in your opinion?
Like he just said, Sami Zayn and Bloodline. That was one of the best things I ever saw.
It was like serious humor combined.
Yes. Now, not to say that I never laughed at R-Truth, but I mean, whenever somebody is just, you know, a comedy act, I mean, it can only go so far. And that's what I meant by, you know, I just didn't have any feeling for the guy because I thought he fizzled out 10 years ago. Or 5 years ago, whenever, you know, the comedy thing was at it, you know, however long he's been doing that comedy thing. But I did hear today, yesterday, they did offer him a contract for less.
Jonathan Coachman,
yeah. I listen to Coach and Bro. But they offered him a contract for less, and he said no. And I mean, and good on him. I mean, you know, don't accept less than what you're worth. I mean, if he thinks he can make more money in the Indies and AEW, or, you know, go ahead and do it. I mean, I you know, more power to him.
Absolutely. So to piggyback off that real quick before we get to the super chats, some people said it in the chat, in the live chat, but all week leading up to Saturday night's main event, all the internet was doing was crying about how R-Truth doesn't deserve this match with Cena. And then now they're upset that he's not with the company anymore. So it's like, there again, we led into this talking about how wrestling fans sometimes will talk out of both sides of their mouth. And the thing about comedy is it's a 3-hour show, 2 3-hour shows. Even The Godfather has humor in it. Like it's called comic relief for a reason. It relieves the tension and it switches gears and it allows it for an easier transition. But let's go ahead and get to those super chats and we'll go ahead and get out of here.
All right. This guy Experience sent in $2. Thank you for that. And says, what does Hamp like? Tough crowd. Or go ahead. Tell us what you like. What are the good things?
Here's what I'm going to say. This is the perfect way to put it. Like Virtue said with the Sami Zayn and Bloodline stuff, that was great. But I love controversial humor. Do y'all remember the Triple H taking advantage of Eugene?
Yeah.
That great television to me. Great television. And y'all are gonna hate this, but Katie Vick. I laughed my.
Did you laugh at Goldust having Tourette's?
No, I thought I was kind of dumb.
I thought that was funny.
I enjoyed that.
I did like the story.
Sorry.
I did like the story. Where they went after Goldust because he was Booker T's friend. Wasn't that before WrestleMania 19?
Yeah, you got electrocuted or something.
I did like that story because it was building up to the match itself, which the match itself was bad, but whatever.
We got to play a game here. Okay, so you liked Katie Vick. So, you got to give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you thought you thought it was funny or entertaining. Okay.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Shane McMahon getting his balls electrocuted by Kane. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Up. Okay, there you go. Thumbs up for that. What about Vince
That was just
McMahon?
a great story. That was just a great story overall, but go ahead.
All right. What about Vince McMahon using the N-word to John Cena?
He loves it.
What would you do?
When you're on the spot here, you said you like controversial humor. So John Cena being called the N-word by Vince McMahon. Did you find that funny?
Let me do a favor for you. Just put your thumbs down. Just do it. Just do it.
Right. What about Snitsky punting the baby? Do you not know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that was with Kane and Lita.
Yeah.
It wasn't his fault.
It wasn't his fault.
I didn't like Snitsky overall, so I'll go thumbs down.
Okay. What about Michael Cole being, I don't even want to use the term, but Heidenreich was standing behind him, breathing down on him. Really? You like that?
That was so funny. That was so funny.
All right. What about the Donald Trump and Rosie O'Donnell people that were dressed up in the costumes having the match on TV?
Well,
did you find that funny?
No, but I am glad DJT won. I was always on his side on that story.
All right, Aaron, let's cut that. Dude, I think it's safe to say though, like the type of humor he likes is like Sami Zayn interacting with the Bloodline, where most of it's serious, but some humor comes out of it. Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho, The List, and all of that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He wants comedy, but he wants it just a little bit here and there with everything else serious around it. That's what I'm seeing. And then we can move on, because if anybody needs released, it's Psycho Jet Black.
All right, here we go. All right.
Real quick. I'm sorry, real quick. I was going to say they might be trying to turn the organization or WWE into UFC kind of, because wasn't there a story that come out a few weeks ago where they were going to start like building some shows may only have like one match. Like, do y'all remember that, or am I?
I didn't hear that, but UFC shows have undercards and stuff too. Like,
but like they were going to build it around one match, and then the undercard was going to be a bunch of who cares.
That's kind of what they do now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so that's the problem. It's TKO. It's not Triple H.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to Psycho Jet Black. This is the Psycho Jet Black portion of the No DQ review. First of all, hard boat.
Hard mode.
hard mode. Why does it say hard boat?
Because he typoed. He pulled a Walter.
Oh, hard mode. Say something nice about John Heidenreich.
His music was pretty cool.
There you go. The music was cool, but that's literally the only thing I could think of.
Yeah.
All right, next.
Heidenreich. Okay, yeah, nobody can really think about anything good there, Psycho.
You
Sorry.
and Psycho Jet Black. Congratulations.
The music. That's it. All right, confused mode. Say something nice about the Yeti. Do you remember that, Hamp? WCW, the Yeti?
No.
What year was that?
95, Halloween Havoc.
I started watching in 97.
Well, your assignment now is to go back and watch 1995 Halloween Havoc and tell me what you thought about the Yeti. He comes out. Well, I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but there's a character called the Yeti, and I will say something nice. I thought it was entertaining. Like, it was bad, but it was, car crash bad. It's really stupid, but you can't look away.
I started watching in 98. Now, whenever the internet come out, you had YouTube and everything. I literally went back and started watching from about 96. So I saw all the NWO stuff and all the WWE stuff at that time. But I don't think I've ever went back as far as 95 because I started with the NWO whenever WCW started going up.
Well, this was a little pre-NWO, but go ahead, check it out. Halloween Havoc 95. And you got to watch Hogan versus the Giant in the monster truck.
Oh, the monster truck thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I have seen that.
But you didn't see the match. Big Show, he got knocked off the roof.
I have.
And he
I
came
have
back and did a match. Can you believe that?
I have seen that match. It was
Must have been a work.
creative. It was creative. I mean, it was stupid, but it was creative. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's interesting.
There's nothing creative going on.
I miss that.
Now,
Even if something falls flat and is just completely ridiculous, I miss that when they would take chances and try some outlandish things.
Like RoboCop.
Now it's just like, every match, as I said, it's like Rocky, or every match they got to do the contract signing and then the pull apart brawl, and then they have the match, and then there's the interference, and the stupid baby face gets distracted. It's the same thing every single week. Mm-hmm. But in 1995, we had Hogan in a monster truck with the Giant. The Giant falls off the roof. Giant comes back to wrestle Hogan for the title. He doesn't have any damage to his body. He's 100%. And then they have a double heel turn. They have Jimmy Hart, Lex Luger turning against Hogan. You got the Yeti coming out there, and it's just pure pandemonium. And I remember that. I can't remember what happened on an AEW pay-per-view a month ago.
Well, yes, you had a great memory for wrestling, Aaron. It's one of the amazing things about coming to this show as a NoDQ viewer or attending the panel. It's always great I'm constantly impressed by your wrestling memory. Psycho Jet Black is trying to make it all about him. So let's see if we can't get through these before the hour and a half mark.
All right, so this is going to be before Hamp's time. Say something nice about the Chamber of Horrors. This was from, I think, Halloween Havoc 91 with Abdullah the Butcher. And that was terrible too, but I missed that stuff. It was campy. Like, we don't have that stuff.
Wasn't that Kevin Sullivan stuff when he had that group, or was that even earlier? Remember?
I don't even know if Sullivan was involved in that. I don't remember, but I remember something with the electric chair with the Abdullah the Butcher. Yeah. I think that's what he's talking about. That stuff was just campy, but I miss that stuff in wrestling, and they don't do that anymore. The
Dungeon of Doom, Aaron. That was Taskmaster or Kevin Sullivan.
Yeah, that was 95, and that was all related to Halloween Havoc.
Mm-hmm. All right, next.
All right, Psycho Jet Black says easy mode. Say something nice about Kevin Nash.
He was a nice guy to meet in person.
He was?
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with him meeting him in person. He was a cool guy.
I mean, he brought the cool factor to the NWO. I'll give him credit for that.
He ended Goldberg's streak.
He did. He did end Goldberg's streak.
I loved Kevin Nash growing up. I mean, when I first started watching. I was a big fan of the Wolfpack, and Nash, Sting, Luger. I was like a huge fan of the Wolfpack, and I loved Kevin Nash. And I was so excited when they brought him into WWE as the NWO, but we all know that it turned out.
Mm-hmm.
I like
right,
Kevin
what do we
Nash's
got
Secret of the Ooze.
All right. Psycho Jet Black sent in $2. Thank you, Psycho. Says, say something nice about Happy and Constable Corbin. Now we're getting into the really difficult section.
I got one. He committed fully to every single thing that was thrown at him, and he really tried to make everything work. And that one, I really was shocked when he was released.
Yeah,
so we can move on.
Fair enough. I mean,
and the segment where somebody accidentally shot him in the crotch was funny too.
I don't even remember that.
Controversial humor. You definitely have a brand, that's for sure, Hamp. All right, what do we got next?
All right. Psycho Jet Black sent in $2. Said, hard mode, say something nice about Ready to Rumble. I thought we did already.
Yeah,
Didn't say it was one of the better wrestling
on to the next one.
Yeah, you got to go back and watch the earlier. Thank you for the super chat, though.
Because Psycho Jet Black came in a little bit later, so I'm not sure if he missed that. But yeah, we did talk about that Ready to Rumble movie, and I something nice. They had the triple cage, and I think they should use it more, but I don't think they will. All right, let's move on here. We got a couple more. Did we talk about beaver cleavage? Say something.
I don't
nice
know
about,
what that is.
Yeah.
You don't know beaver cleavage?
He was one of the headbangers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the
before
gimmick
my
did last
time.
like about 2 weeks. So I think maybe only Virtue and I know that gimmick. Hamp, do you remember beaver cleavage?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it was Hamp Connor. Leave It to Beaver. So they did these black and white videos, and you had was it Mosh, I think? Headbanger Mosh?
Yeah, it was one.
What year was that?
This was Vince Russo, so this was 99.
Yeah.
And they had the black and white segment. He's dressed up like a 1950s kid, and he's got his mom who's like this model. She's a model, and beaver cleavage. Get it?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
You said that was 99.
Yeah.
Like I say, I was watching both at the time. I started watching WWF around the 98 during the Survivor Series Deadly Games thing. That's when I first noticed it. Noticed WWF. I was watching WCW. I was a big fan of Goldberg and all that. So I was, but by then I was switching back and forth. But on WWF, I was only watching like the big angles. I was mostly watching WCW because I love the Wolfpack.
All right.
So if it wasn't a big angle back then, I probably don't remember it.
Go watch it. So you got a couple of assignments. Go watch Halloween Havoc 95, the Hogan.
I started watching WWF like mostly and fully around August of 99 or September of 99, whenever Triple H turned into this, there's just this badass going after the title. That's when I started loving it. And, when he was going after Vince and his family. And I'll tell you, nobody's a bigger fan of Triple H than me. I mean, I love the guy. It's just, I have my reservations about him creatively.
Fair enough.
You should, question his booker or his booking of Gunther.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's always, you never want to just have the blind loyalty. You always want to question what they do and be like, well, is this the best you can do? Can you do better?
And that's the thing. That's the thing. Triple H came up in this great era. I mean, how does he think that what he's doing now is great television? I understand they make it a lot of money, but I mean, I don't know. I mean,
you have a red hot baby face. The crowd's having a good time. I was at the Rumble. They were.
Who's the red hot baby face?
Jay. And then Saturday they were hot for him as well too. But it's like a sports team. You can be a fan of a sports team and still be critical of the decisions that they're making. So it's absolutely fine to do that for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, speed
so what
round.
else we got left?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
3 more. Let's get it through.
Fancy Bastard sent in $5, but no super chat or comment.
That's
Fancy
my cousin.
Bastard, leave a comment, like something you want us to read on here, and we'll talk about it. Leave a comment to represent that $5 super chat. All right, let's get back to Psycho Jet Black. Psycho Jet Black, we kind of touched on this. Is WWE walking away from comedy wrestlers? They might be. Virtue brought this up. Maybe they're moving in that direction where they want to present it more like the UFC and not have the comedy, but I think that's a mistake. You know, throughout my fandom, there's always been some kind of comic relief, and I think they should have that. You know, it should be a variety show. I'm not a fan of it just being 100% serious all the time, like for the most part, but I like a little bit of comedy here and there. But we'll see. We'll see if they bring in some new people to fill the void, or if they truly are moving away from that stuff. I feel like with AAA, they already did. With Triple H, they already did move away from it a bit. You know, with Vince, they did a lot of that toilet humor, and when Triple H took over, they definitely cut back on that. So we'll see if it continues to move in that direction. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Psycho. Says, I'm going to miss R-Truth in the crazy segments, especially that one segment with Vince, Stone Cold, and R-Truth coming out in a Confederate outfit. WTF. Do you remember this one, Hamp, the Confederate outfit?
Yeah, it was when he was doing the little Jimmy stuff. And he come out singing when Jimmy comes marching home again.
No.
I don't even remember that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
come
one
out
thing I
dressed
don't
like
remember.
a Confederate soldier, and he was singing when Jimmy comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah. And he was – it's like I say, it's like, you know, they turned him heel. You know, they had him smoke the cigarette and all that.
I remember
and
that.
I'm like, yeah, I was
He
like,
got fined for that too, apparently, because he was illegal in the arena he was in.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought, you know, well, this could be cool. They're doing something different with him, and then they just turned him into a comedy act. So.
All right. So the comment here from Fancy Bastard was, I was going to comment that talking about the great 90s era stuff makes me miss the car crash crazy matches. Yeah, I mean, I just miss the unpredictability, and that's something that I think we talked about on the last episode. Like, I just miss tuning into the shows and not knowing what to expect. Like, I feel like they rely too much on a formula, and it works for them business-wise, but as a viewer, it gets kind of boring at times. And that's why I want AEW to succeed. So Maddie sent in $2 and says, why do you hate AEW despite it being a better product? I think AEW is a good product. I want it to succeed, and I want them to be able to compete with WWE, so both brands can be on edge and be at the top of their game and be forced to not hold back. You know, they got
that's subjective too, Aaron.
Yes.
Because if it was a better product, they would be getting higher ratings in WWE and selling out arenas as well.
I think they put out excellent pay-per-views.
I'm not saying it's absolutely horrible, but it caters to a niche. Doesn't mean it's a better product. Now, if you're a fan of it, of course, it's a better product to you. That's subjective.
Yes.
Big G.
I have a quick answer to this question. Go watch the latest episode of the NoDQ Roundtable, and we discuss about AEW.
Yeah, and it's not hating.
Love it.
I think AEW's been good. Like, I enjoy their shows, but there are times where I feel like, same thing as WWE, they tend to rely too much on their formula and play it safe and don't take chances.
Mm-hmm.
I find it a little boring, just a little boring. Like, I enjoy a lot of stuff, but there are also times where I'm like, I already know what's going to happen here. Come on, let's try something different, you know?
Do y'all think that maybe this could be a time for them to take advantage? Like, you know, with...
I mean, they've
try to capitalize on.
We talked about that.
Capitalize.
We talked about that last week, Camp. They've had at least solid 3 chances, and they've never. It's fumbled every time. When they started, when they got CM Punk, the first Wembley show, and I mean, are they going to capitalize? Well, they're 0 for 3, in my opinion.
But you know what? If you're fed up with WWE, this goes to anybody out there. If you're pissed about R-Truth and Carlito and you don't like Triple H's creative direction, then here's the deal. Stop giving them money. Stop buying tickets to their shows. Stop buying their merchandise. Start watching AEW. Go to AEW shows. Buy AEW merchandise. Yep. You know, if you really think it's that bad, don't buy YTC t-shirts, you know. I know Gino said, you know, you can support the wrestlers but not support the brand, but you're still supporting the brand by buying the YTC t-shirt. Roman Reigns probably gets 10% of the money from that. WWE gets the rest of it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, my problem with AEW is this. I mean, there's actually one thing I'm interested in, the MJF and Hurt Syndicate thing. That's been pretty interesting.
Yeah, and my wife doesn't really
And-
watch, but she likes the Hurt Syndicate. That's one of the few things she finds interesting about AEW.
And the patriarchy, that's pretty interesting. I'm interested to see where the patriarchy, goes. That's been pretty interesting. But I mean, it's just not enough to watch a whole show because I mean, it's the same thing as WWE to me. I mean, they got to have a 20-minute kick-out contest, and I guess I'm just not a wrestling fan. I'm a sports entertainment fan.
Yeah.
Like this guy.
Right. And yeah, same thing. I grew up in the 90s, and if you lived through the Monday Night Wars, like it's hard to watch some of today's wrestling because it is so repetitive today, and
Exactly.
it follows a formula. Both shows, WWE and AEW, and we know what they can do when the creative juices are flowing. We know when they're doing stuff like the NWO, like we know what the potential is, and when they're not giving us what we feel is their best effort creatively, it can be frustrating as a fan. And that's all it is. We just want to see them reach their full potential as a brand and what they're capable of doing. And wrestling to me is just more than matches. If we're just going by great matches, yeah, AEW is one of the best products ever. But to me, there's a lot of criteria. It's not just the wrestling, it's the presentation, it's the characters, it's the storylines, it's the lighting, it's the music, it's everything all rolled together in one, and just the overall flow of the shows and the unpredictability and just being entertained and a roller coaster ride and not knowing what's coming next. Sometimes a ride might get boring if it's the same ride over and over again. Yeah, it's exciting, but after a while, you know everything that's happening and you want something a little bit different. That's all.
Absolutely. Great way to put it, Aaron.
All right. Do we have anything else here before
I believe that's it.
I think we're caught up there. So yeah, great discussion tonight, guys. This was a fun one.
All right, guys. So we're gonna throw it around to do our plugs. We're gonna start with Big Baller G, shortest retirement ever.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
Yes. So, and if you want to throw up the plugs, YouTube, if you're a fan of cats, Harley and Joker 2021, X, NoDQ _ Big Baller G, TikTok, Big Baller G 1988, and on the Insta, NoDQ _ Big Baller G 1988. And if you go to Amazon and search The Fox and the Poppy, my wife has written her first book. So that is out, and her second book is coming out very, very soon, hopefully by the end of this month.
Well done. Thank you so much, Big G, for joining us. Hamp, first time reviewer. Not sure if you've got a whole title card or anything like that to present, but where can the people find you?
I'm on Facebook. Apparently my cousin's going to start tuning in. So he's at the bottom.
Awesome. We love
so I got you another viewer, Aaron. But thank y'all for having me. This was fun. I'd love to do it again. And anytime y'all, if I'm off and y'all need somebody, I'm willing to fill in.
And you did great. Thank you so much.
I wish I had a YouTube page to plug, but I don't think anybody would watch me if I was on YouTube. Maybe Aaron, and you can ask them in the chat if I got a YouTube page. They'd want to hear my opinion.
All right. And Virtue, where can the people find you in a shirt like that?
X.com at NoDQ _ Virtue. Seems to be dying out though. I think I'm getting stale, so I'm gonna have to reinvent myself over there. But anyway, go to NoDQ.com/merch and get some of the great NoDQ merch, the Virtue merch, whatever. That's all I got.
All right. And Aaron, anything to plug? The next roundtable or the next NoDQ Q&A video coming up anytime soon?
Well, I got the Audacious Takes video. I think the next one will be up on Sunday. We got the Money in the Bank show coming up this weekend, so I'll be busy with that. Check out NoDQ.com for that. And Thursday, we got the predictions for Money in the Bank. And
at a special start time.
Yeah, special start time of 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. And yes, we got the 4-hour Fighter Fest special, so we'll see how that goes. And And Maddie, you know, WWE has always been corporate. I mean, if you hate WWE right now when you liked it 10 years ago, 20 years ago, then it doesn't really make sense to me because they've always been corporate. It's always been about making money. They've been cutting people for decades. I mean, this is nothing new. I mean, this goes back to the 90s. You know, they cut people and they're trying to maximize their profits. I mean, this is nothing new. People are acting shocked. Oh my God, TKO is this evil corporation. But then, you know, during COVID, Vince was in charge and they were cutting people during the pandemic, you know? So it doesn't matter who's in charge, you know, it's a corporation. And some people like to root for the underdog, and that's why they like AEW. Although you could argue, well, Tony Khan's got a billionaire family, so, you know, is it really any different than WWE? But WWE is what it is, and they have been consistent. I will say that. You know, they've made some controversial business decisions over the decades. I mean, this is a company that kept the show going after Owen Hart died in the ring, and people kept watching. So I don't know what to tell you. Like, if you hate WWE for their morals, you probably should have checked out way back then. Just saying. But people watch it, they overlook it. It is what it is. So yeah, you like WWE, you don't. I mean, they are what they are. But thank you guys for watching. You know, it's great to talk with everybody, and we all have different opinions. Maddie, you know, I respect your opinions, and I do enjoy AEW. I try to defend it as much as possible, but I know they're capable of great things, and I think, you know, this is a good opportunity for them. If WWE keeps making decisions that piss off people, you know, they could certainly capitalize on that momentum, and I hope they do. You know, I want to see AEW grow, because if AEW gets more popular, then WWE has to make some changes, and that's ultimately good for everybody, in my opinion. All right, so
Absolutely.
I said my piece on it. Gino, I guess we'll go ahead and take it home.
Yeah. Do you happen to have the new graphic I sent you? It's okay if not.
When did you send it?
It was earlier during the thing. It doesn't matter.
Shoot.
You throw up whatever you got. Don't worry about it. Guys,
Okay.
thank you to everybody in the NoDQ Galaxy. If you want to find me, you can catch me reviewing movies. I got my Lilo and Stitch review up there on my podcast, Major Push Wrestling. New episodes every Wednesday at 8. So just go to YouTube, Papagino0017. Thank you again to Virtue for sharing the moderatorship. And I love when I have the ability to do this and to come on here and present these topics for you guys. Thank you to Aaron and all of the NoDQ Galaxy for having this environment where, whether we agree or whether we disagree, we all like wrestling and we all want it to succeed. So from Aaron, Hamp, Big Baller G, RORM, Virtue, I'm Gino. And as always, we'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.